So I'm back, crazy and all. I don't know how many people were watching the show, but the sheer amount of people all thought I was nuts. Oh my God, if you only knew that is the hole that lets you make the pass. It is the free air above the people that lets you throw the ball through the air. If you collapse the air, there's nothing. There's water in that air. Water rises. How do you think it rises? Just because the earth runs and the air comes into you, you think it rises? So I'm stupid? Because I'm thinking about time cube that this guy did say a couple of things that are right. Absolutely right. Let me just change the subject for a second. Does anybody know what this is? Doesn't it look like a long highway from Chicago to Detroit, up a stop in Ottawa, just to check out who's there for a couple of years? But they come back to Toronto. Montreal started it all up. Good in between spot to start, right? They got Mount Royal, they got Mount Sinai, they got everything. They even got a white-faced mountain back in the north of Montreal. Nobody knows about that. Then we went over here to Boston, the Boston Beans, the Boston Bruins. Then we come over here to New York, the Big Apple. The Big Apple, 1926. Detroit, 1926. Chicago, 1926. 622.6, maybe that's part of it. Because when they talk about a universal number of 622.6, it doesn't only happen once. It's going to happen a lot. The Queen herself is number 62. 26 is the letter Z. So you would have B's Axe. Why B's Axe? Because Boston came in 1924. And the 24th letter is the X. The 19 is the S. They had sex before anything started. Hucking and pulling on one end of the B because I talk different. Because I think that there's something else there, that when I look at something, I don't just look at it and say, well, what's here? I take the word right away and I tear it apart, letter by letter. I still have not gotten into the tearing apart the letter by dot. Although it's not that hard to make dot to dot and create a letter, but what size do I start on? As a box? Well, that goes into one world. Which world do I put it in? An X or a number 7, they fit in all the worlds. They can fit in one box and they fit in 10. So they have all these guys who have kickback. I mean, there's not that many. If there were a lot on the show, a lot of them didn't say anything. But the hecklers will usually come back. Why don't they just tell me? Well, what do they need to tell me? I'm interested enough to go out and look myself. So I did. Am I acting? Wish I was acting good enough that I can somehow be in Hollywood, make a little bit extra cash, and pass it out to the people who really need it. Why do I think that way? Because I'm 50. If I live to 100, I only need about $500,000. I think I can do that within the next 150 years. I've done it before. And if I only have a plant in my house and I can only grow my own tomatoes and vegetables, then I'll do it. I'm not like this because I became like this. I was always like this. I never knew how to get it out. I was sitting in the truck driving out down to pick up a load of hogs or a load of grain. I can tell you a story about a load of grain. You want to see how I think? I'm driving down the highway and all of a sudden I know my differential went on me. So what did I do? I got a package of tape and I taped it up. Never thought it was going to work, but I knew once I got it rolling, the truck was going to roll 7 kilometers, good enough to get me to the station. Another time, my tarp on a 48-foot truck got blown off in the middle of nowhere, and I was carrying hops, and they weigh nothing. What did I do? String by string, at minus 30 degrees, I hopped up on the truck, and I got that tarp back on. But I still had to run into the field over in the highway where it blew off, and it weighs 400 pounds. One pull at a time, 20 pounds at a time. I guess a little bit of pressure did help. I was in St. Louis, Missouri, about 30 miles out of town on the highway. Just came out from breakfast, and I really had to take a wild pee-pee. So I went beside my truck. I looked around. I really no one was looking, and I let it go. I got a tap on my shoulder. There's a cop behind me. I shit in my pants. Not only did I take a piss. Yes, I'm sorry, sir. Why did you do it? Here, you just came out of the restaurant. I saw you. So he gets out the handcuffs. I says, you're not putting those on me. He says, I am. Can I get a picture of it? Oh, you want to be a smartass too? Took me down to the station and locked me up. I got claustrophobia. Not anymore. Because I know No matter where I'm in, it's still in my heart. And all along my life, I had this vision something else was alive in me. I just couldn't get it out. I couldn't see it. I was too blocked with what was in the outside world because that was the temptation. They told us you got to get up and go to school. Even my grandmother reminds me, I have to get up and go to work, and she's 98, and all she thinks about when I see her, and then if she speaks about money, it seems like she's 25 years old again. That's retarded, isn't it? It's retarded. She can hold a full conversation when it comes to money and nothing else. She was an investor. Rubik's Cube time, because I think that we're getting gypped, and I think the second clock is going faster than it should. Why? Because I measure it up against tennis 45 angle that they don't use, and measure it up by the 4 train tracks and the 4 corners of an 8-point star of a stop sign that we stop at all the time is 45 degrees, and one before it is 44, and that's where Barack Obama stops. But Herbert Hoover came in at 31, 3 and 1 is 4. So we know what cycle that was on. All planned out. You can't see it in front of you. What can't we see in front of us? It's that window that we're stuck in, that blue window that we don't see, the blue sky up above us. We might see a light that might come into our face now and then over in the day. That's a real light. And on that light, we're going to see a little bit of red, because our sun should be red inside of it. There's been a red sun on an angle behind us for many, many years, but nobody looked at it because inside yellow and orange is red. And it's not only me. Go play pool. The 1 and the 3 in pool are yellow and red. The 5 is orange. The 3 of them together, because they work together in letters, is ACE, ace. The 7th ball stops because the 7th day stops, but the 7th day is actually the 6th day. Do you know why? Because in pool, the 15 ball, 1 and 5 is 6. And when you go A to E, that's the way it is. When you go the 6th one, you're on Reading Railroad. Or if you're 6 from home, you're now in Oriental. They're building your body. You don't come into this world till 21, until you reach the age of the cube. And from 21 to get back to reading, where they started your mind, because you started this game at the age of 18. You started this game at the age of 26. So when you come out of this game, you become the 622-6, because you start on 21 Kentucky, where the horses are, all in red. And you come around and you pass, or you come to and you stop. We're only playing 1L of the Monopoly board. And then probably back the other way, and then to short line, and then back up and around again. That's why it's called short line. I hope I can remember all these numbers. So to go from one area to the other one, it's only 24. To go from 0 all the way over to Kentucky is 21. From Kentucky back to 0 is 19, man on the moon. From go, where you are 19 later from Kentucky, is 10% or $200, because you're coming back into the 50 by 40 world of 200 or 2,000 years since Christ has come. This is the time, my friends. From the 5 position of where you end, or 4 position from where you end, because the 5 is the train and you're moving on, we'll take it from the 5 position, and we'll go to 21, and that's 16. 5 and A and E is 6. The 5th position, all the way over to the 21st, is 16. But you're on the 5th position, so there's only 15 in between. 16 is Pennsylvania, and that's your freedom that's in between the 2. But you never get to go to freedom. You only get to see it in Monopoly. How does the Baltic connect? Connects to the Mediterranean. The Oriental to the Mediterranean, to the Baltic. 2 properties that now connect. Now we have Connect. Right away, with Oriental, we have Connecticut. What was the other one? Vermont? Was it Vermont and Connecticut? And that's right up over here where Boston is, of the original 6 hockey teams. Well, you know what? You can all think I'm crazy, but this is the original 6. If you take a look at it, it's a jack. Or maybe if you look into the stars a little bit, it's the Big Dipper. The original 6 hockey teams. You can think I'm crazy, but I put things together that are real. This is the Big Dipper, and if you also look, this is standing up, and this is almost like a street all the way down. Why did they take the monument? They put the 4 heads on the monument, okay, and they didn't make them look towards the east at all. They were all looking basically for me downward and towards California. There's a place you ought to be, so they moved up the truck, then they moved to Beverly Hills, that is. Jed was out shooting some possum, and he hit some oil. Up from the ground came a bubbling brew. Oil, she said. Grandma said disaster, so she still brought. You ever see Granny? She brought that jug with 3 X's on it. That stands for 60. That stands for number 4. That stands for turkey. There's something in Turkey, at Turkey, up at Turkey. I don't know what it is, but there's something around Turkey. That's like the cap. Turkey is like probably the last island that's not even really with wherever they are. They're probably one of the caps that's going with Russia and right off of wherever we go. However it happens, it might just be like, whoosh, we're going to go right, you're going to see the door, and you're going to go right through the door. You're going to, hey, how did that happen? Things change, my friends. I'm watching this tape on the Hopi Indians. They say we're going through the 4th level. The 4th level, okay, is the Baltic, is Oriental, is the 10% of our mind, and the 20 world of the $200, 20 by 10, the 10, 10, 10 of the 10 world, because there's 10 at every corner in Monopoly. If you put them all in the center, it makes 40. We're going into the 5th world, they say, but the 5th world is not a world at all. It's a dimension. It's called Reading Railroad. At the same time, it's in between 10% of your mind and Oriental. So you're passing through from whence you came, because you came in with a mind of the soul, which is the 1 ball and pull. But when it came to horse racing and you came into this world on Kentucky Red, the 2 red horses, the 1 and the 1, in harness and in thoroughbred, are both 1 and are both red. And then when they go 1A and 1B, where do they put the C? Do they put it 1C? No. They don't make it a C. They make it an X, because C and X is the same thing. 8 heaven of 3 is 24. Creation of creation of creation of creation. Why? Because it's a spiraling staircase. We got to go down to each level. In one level, we have the birds. In one level, we have the fish. And then we have the middle world, and the world that's keeping this whole thing afloat. There's some kind of gem in the center. We're on some kind of pyramid like this. Something's connected here, and they connect the oceans here, and then they play with the oceans here, and they play with it here, and they play with it here. I don't think they use more than a certain degree, and I'm thinking whether that degree can be any more than 6.25 degrees to move the oceans over for one day, and then to move them back. Where do I get this number? Not only is it from 41 times 625, or 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 equaling 625, but it's also 45 degrees in half is 22 and a half, is 11 and a half, is 5.125 plus 1.125 equals to that number. Why did I add that? Because, what am I going to tell you, 1 minute, 15 seconds. What am I supposed to say? 75 is the number of the egg. How come? There's other scenarios, but you caught me on that one because I know what it is, but I can't explain it. Anyways, it's my son's birthday, so I want to know. I gotta stuff this coconut up with change. You think I'll get $300 in here? See, I'm gonna stuff them all in here. You know what happened? Once I took the water out of this coconut and I left it at room temperature, it cracked. Then I took a knife and made a little slit in it, and it sliced right at the knife. What can this do, this coconut? You think I'm going to sit on here and stuff in money while you're watching the whole thing? I'm going to shave this thing down and paint this when I'm done. It's my son. I only got one son. And if I had 2, I'd only have 1 still. I'd have 1 and 1. And if I'd have 3 sons, I'd have 1, 1, and 1. If I had another son, I'd probably be having a heart attack right now. Raphael, 7286 in the constellation of Pegasus. 7286, none of it. All the way I'll have none of it, but it's all the way up to the Arctic Circle, my number, and that's where I live, and that's where everything's taken off. Think as I am crazy as a loon. How crazy am I? What does it make to be crazy? Because I took home one of the pieces I repaired the other day, I can show you basically how the Earth can sit. Look at how everything's sitting. You see what the outside world looks like, the angle of it? Look at the angle on the inside. You see the angle? yet our world seems to be sitting nice and round, or a little bit like this. Okay? It couldn't go any further because this is stopping it. It's like a wedge. It's wedged in, and this Earth couldn't go anywhere. Now, if you're talking about the wobble, what do you really think the wobble is there for? They changed how it works. What do you think it goes around like this, the wobble? It's sort of supposed to. But they use the wobble only so they can take the point of the Earth and move it over this way for the ocean of time. And then they move this part over here and this part over here to make it easier, so it just slides. And everything's like up staircases. Do you know why? Because from under the ground, if our Earth is like this, if they went straight up, they'd only make it to here because they're going straight up this way. This is what straight up is. So they can't actually go straight down because they'll walk into the wall. So they go forward and down, forward and down, forward and down, and then they make it to the bottom of the world. Do you think they want you to know that? Do you think they want you to know that underneath the Baltic and somewhere in between the Nile River and the Suez Canal, there's something energetic underneath the ground? If this world is really true and there are those energies, this is what Monopoly says. That's what it says. We were taken, somehow they de-brain us down in the Baltic, and those mad scientists are all living where the kangaroos are, and if not, they're in New Zealand with the zebras, putting a new stripe on a new zebra because they had to black the spot because they made another mistake. Trying to figure out why there's spots? Why don't you just say they're all mistakes? Why? Because football, I think the season is down to the end, and every time you get a mark on a helmet, some of the people, they just mark a black spot. They got hit there. Or when you get hit, and in baseball it's a strike, well, in life, sometimes when you get a strike, it's because you struck out. So you have to put another mark to say, we're not going to use that DNA strand anymore. I got a black mark, I'll make an X on the spot. Instead of an X, they make a circle, because a circle's easy, it nullifies everything. I can't see it. What was there? Well, look at the size of the dot. Is it a small dot or a medium dot? If it's a medium dot, maybe there was the letter M. If it was a great big dot, it could have been the letter V or W or something. What size dot was that? Dot to dot, Morse code, Raphael 7286. This is a bearing, and this is like what you can say on the Bering Sea that seems to be controlling one of the Mediterranean countries. Bearings, Bering Sea, anything, S-E-E-S-I. S and I is 15, T and A is 21, A-T. Let me hear you say 80. A and T. That's it. Let me hear you say 380. C, the letter C, A, T. 380. Cat. 20 more than 360 degrees because you started at 20 less. You started at 160. Each side took 160, leaving in between and then 40, and that's what created the monopoly space. Don't forget, I have to jump in every single area because there's a reason, and it goes here and it connects to this one, and this one has a reason. That's the way it is, my friends. Call me crazy. I must be crazy. Well, that's what they said. Most of the guys on radio thought I was a nut. But Ian gave me the chance. Takes a little bit of courage, as he sees not many callers online, but he let me go the full hour anyways. He didn't probably let anybody curse me out either. I'm quite sure he did that too. But he was kind enough not to hang up his microphone and sit on the side and just chat with his friends while I'm babbling on about things that people don't understand. And I'm happy he stopped me, because I don't want to talk about things they don't understand. If there's any formation, I need to take the formation. If they want to understand anything, I have to bend over to the way they understand and see things so that I can explain it so that they can see it. Otherwise, whatever I'm doing is going to be a star up in the high. It's going to be an explorer of a .net, my only star that everybody can go to. But if no one understands a word, then what good is any of this online anyways? But for me, I wasn't looking how crazy I was, because one person that helps is one more than zero, and that's all I need. Raphael 7286. Thank you.